Music by Kevin MacLeod.
It's a bike ride I'm taking with Steve and Andrea, and we're just leaving the DoubleTree parking lot here. Going down the sidewalk towards the Animas River Trail. Turn left here, so we're headed south towards, we gotta get onto the Posta Road, which is a little bit south of this area. Steve and I are chatting with each other along here. I think we're talking about what kind of clothing we wear during the winter. That's Smelter Ridge, up Smelter Mountain up there on the right with the snow on it. Got the Animas River off to our right, and you can see the pedestrian bridge coming up on our right. The Highway 160 is just beyond that. Now we're going underneath that bridge. Now we're underneath Highway 160. Out to the other side, and we're headed south along the trail. Trail along here has these little breaks in it every I don't know, 30 feet or so, and you can see the camera really jiggles as the bicycle goes over it. The camera is attached to my handlebars, and it gives a good view of the road ahead, but it also picks up more of the road vibration than it does when it's on my helmet. Andrea is following us, and she's actually just right behind us as we go along this little. We're not able to ride very fast along here because there are pedestrians, and also the route is kind of bumpy. The highway is off to our left, Highway 550, a big 4-lane highway, and then there's the bikeway path, and then off to the right is the river, with the ridges of Smelter Mountain rising up even up further off there. In this little area, I'm chatting with Andrea, and she's come up on my right there. And whoops, now here's where Steve misses the turn, and I call out to them and I take the turn, so now I'm the one that's ahead of everybody else. I'm going downhill here. It's kind of a bumpy road, and I pick up a little speed, and this is combined with the bumps, makes the camera jump around a little bit. Not really going all that fast though. It looks a little bit rougher than it really is. We're approaching the area of Santa Rita Park, which goes around the waste treatment plant for Durango. Going up through this little segment here, and off to the right is the area where they have competitive rafting and kayaking, and those are the posts there that they suspend the gates that go into the river that the kayakers go through. There's the water treatment plant up there on the left. Now the bike path has smoothed out. There's the water treatment plant. Now we're coming up to Santa Rita Park, which is a pretty nice park area, and people come there and stop along the way and walk their dogs, which is what these people up here on the right, just if I'm going to pass them, are doing. Can go a little faster along this segment because the road is so smooth, and you can sort of see what's ahead of you. Steve is on my left and is talking to me, so we're able to move along at a pretty good clip right through this section. Concrete segment is coming up. Even though it's November 11th, there's still some pretty colors from the fall along the route. It'd be even prettier if we were on a bright sunny day, but that's not what's happening today. Now we're approaching an underpass to go under Highway 550. We've got the river on our right, so the highway goes over the river. We go under the highway. And then right after that area, we ourselves pass over a special bridge made for pedestrians and bikes. It's wooden planks, and so now we are going to be on the west side of the river, and we're on the east side of the highway. This is the segment of the river that Donna, Todd, and the Vince family, Hannah and Andrew, and also Chris and Taylor, went rafting on last July when they visited. And I followed them along their river route by going down this bike trail, and I took a lot of my footage from the different bridges that we've just crossed. Still have a few bumps, as you can see along here. This big slag formation on our right turns out to be some kind of man-made thing left over from, I don't know, maybe when they built the highway. It's kind of a chilly day, maybe about 45 degrees, so there aren't really all that many people out walking and enjoying themselves. Now we come to a place where we make a sharp right turn. We head up towards the highway, and this will be the end of the bike trail, and we're going to cross the highway and get on to the actual Posta Road. This is kind of a steep little hill here. Okay, here we are, approaching the area where we're going to cross. I think there's a car kind of waiting for us over there on the left. Okay, now we decided it's okay to cross. Have to sit here for a while, wait for the light to change. Okay, the light has changed. We're ready to roll out. We're crossing the road. This is the beginning of the Posta Road, which is actually, in this area, a frontage road that we have to ride on for 2 or 3 miles, really. Here's the turnoff for one of our common rides that goes up to Lake Nighthorse. Cruising past the driveway that leads into what's called the Centennial Mall, which is just a kind of a big strip mall. There are a lot of businesses along and through here. I find it a somewhat confusing area because of the frontage road, but once you get used to how the access to the frontage road works out, it's really not a bad place to get around in. Highway 550 off to our left is a big 4-lane highway, and sometimes even more lanes than that. It's very heavily constructed and carries a lot of traffic. That makes it kind of nice to be able to ride along the frontage road for the bicycle traffic. As you can see, there's really not all that much car traffic, so you usually feel pretty safe along this road. Kind of bumpy along this section, as you can see from how the camera's bumping around on my handlebar. The camera's pretty firmly attached, but it's it doesn't have a really big set of shock absorbers built into it. Now see how the road is smooth now, and it goes downhill for a segment in here, so I can really start to gather speed. Start to go maybe 25-30 miles an hour, and it's really a pretty pleasant little road. There's still a little bit of jiggling going on, but you notice it's a lot smoother than it was before. There's the river off to my left. Here I'm climbing a little bit of a hill, and then there'll be a descent after this. Here we go. Now we can pick up a little bit of speed, and this is what makes bicycle riding fun. Still able to move pretty fast along here. I think I'm going pretty level along this section, but there's also some good little downhills. Now we're going uphill a little bit. Okay, here we are approaching what's called Dominguez Drive. Stop ahead, it says. This will be the place where the Posta Road really takes off. It goes for another 12 or 13 miles without a stop sign after this particular stop sign. So this is a natural stopping point. We've come about 4.5 miles from the DoubleTree. Now we're headed out the Posta Road. This is Andrea ahead of me. We're headed up a little bit of a hill here, and then we're going to go down one, of course, and go a little bit faster. Andrea and I are just talking as we ride along. You can see her over there on my left. This is the turnoff towards the Animas Air Park. Now we're moving a little faster. You can see when the cars go around us, they go quite a bit. They pull out into that far lane because they want to stay at least 3 feet away from us, which is the Colorado state law. And most of the people along this route are pretty good at that because they can see ahead quite a ways, so they just pass us like we're other vehicles. Yeah, you can see we're coasting pretty much here because Andrea's not pedaling very much, and she's down in the drops. I think here I decided I would go around her because I weigh more than she does, so I can go a lot faster. I weigh more than Steve though too, and I don't tend to go faster than Steve, you know, because I'm not as aerodynamic as he is. So I should say that Steve can make himself more aerodynamic than I can, so that's the reason he can go a lot faster. The spokes on Steve's bike sometimes seem to be turning backwards. It's kind of like watching the stagecoaches in the old movies. Kind of a dark day, isn't it? It seemed like there were a fair amount of colors out, but with all those clouds, it's a pretty gloomy looking day. Here we're climbing a hill. You can see Steve standing up, and I think I'm doing the same thing. We're not really working all that hard here. These hills aren't very steep, and we're not really riding really fast or hard, so we took it pretty easy this day. The school buses stopped up here, but now it's started up again, so we didn't have to stop. Here I am going down a hill, going a little faster, sort of show you what it looks like a little later into the ride when we have some nice little hills. I'm coming down into this area where there's some pretty cottonwoods up there on the left, and there's the river off to the a little bit further over to the left. I always like this area, especially in summertime. It's filled with red-winged blackbirds, and you can hear this little big sort of a wet, swampy area. Kind of a bucolic scene with the cattle grazing off to the right there, and the road's nice and straight. It's a really pleasant ride in through here. Here Steve and I are just riding along together and talking, apparently. It's nice to kind of glide along really smooth roads like this where there's no traffic and you can just chat with people, and you're getting a little bit of exercise too. The color of those reeds and bushes in the late fall. Now we're headed up a little bit of a steep hill, and Steve's climbing up out of the saddle, and I think I am as well. The bike is kind of shaking back and forth, which is caused by me climbing, and here it's smoothing out because we reached the top of the hill. Might look like I'm riding really close to Steve, but I'm not actually as close as I could be. I'm not truly drafting him, I'm just riding right behind him. And usually if you want to draft, you gotta get just a foot or so behind the rear wheel of the person in front of you. The trouble with the drafting position, it's a little bit hard to talk to people, so there's always this tendency to want to pull even with them to chat away. See how the terrain gets flatter and flatter as we get further south. It's just cattle ranching, and it's not ever completely flat, kind of rolling, but it's still very pleasant to ride on, especially on a smooth road like this one. Here's a nice little area. We're just booming along through the countryside. Lots of pretty trees, cottonwood trees, but mostly it's not heavily forested, as you can see. There's some nice pastures on either side of the road. This is the end of the line. We're about to go back home. Now we're on our way back. We've come 18 miles and we're going back another 18. Here's Andrea heading down a steeper hill, and I'm following her. Going about maybe almost 30 miles an hour right there, I'd say. Oh, always liked this little segment here, these little curves. We're going downhill a little bit. Most of our way back is a tiny bit uphill, so it's kind of nice to have these little downhill sections. Passing Steve, but it's likely he's just going to catch up to me. That often happens. I don't remember if it happened in this case though. Here's the mile 7 sign. Climbing up this hill. Here's Andrea going down a sort of steep hill. I'm kind of right behind her. We're moving along at a pretty good clip. We turned off the main road and are climbing up towards the Animas Air Park right in through here. This is after we got to the top of the Animas Air Park, but unfortunately I had a flat tire on the way up, which we had to repair. So now I'm coming back down. I'm trying to take it a little bit easy because I have a kind of a hole in my tire. I don't want to go too fast. But it's a pretty nice little steep road, so you can get moving. So I think I get going about 25 or so before I put on the brakes. Steve are following me because make sure I don't have another flat tire, which was a good possibility. Turns out that I didn't get another flat tire, but Steve actually had to put a little piece of cardboard in my tire to sort of block out the hole, so give my tube a little bit of protection on the way home. You can really get going pretty fast down this hill, you know, when and your tires are in good shape, and you don't have to worry about how fast, you know, them blowing on the way down. Back on the main road, Posta Road, headed towards home. We're almost there. In this area, I'm waiting for Andrea and Steve, and then I notice off to my left there's a few deer. They're going to cross the road. There they go. Bingo, bingo. There's a truck kind of waiting. See how they slowed up for them. And you probably can't see it, but a little further up where Andrea, oh, here comes another one. Several more, 2 more, and then up where Andrea and Steve are, way up there, there's a couple, 2 or 3 more deer. Here come Andrea and Steve. They say, "Did you see those 3 deer?" said Steve as he went past. And then I said I'd catch up to them, and then so I'm starting up here and taking off after them. This is our last hill. We're coming down towards Home Depot. There's, what is that, mile 13. So it's just a little past mile 13 that our turnoff is, where the last stop sign was. And so we've got to make this left turn. And just before we make this left turn, we can hear it already. There's this big truck starts to come around us. You can see that's not the kind of thing you want to turn into. And there he goes. He's being very cautious to go around us. Okay, and here we are making our left turn. And we're back on the sort of still a little Posta Road, I think. But we're headed towards the last little segment of our trip. The road heads down towards the river again, so this is another pretty little section with the cliffs off to our left. Steve's talking about those apartments off to the right that he hasn't usually seen from this angle. This gives kind of a pretty view of those cliffs up there on the left. So even this late in the day, you can see a lot of the different colors of fall starting to get a little bit dark as we get closer to town. Now we're driving along that frontage road. You can see that stoplight way up ahead. That's our area that I think where we crossed the highway. It's gotten to be about 4:30 now, 4:15, 4:30, so gonna get it dark around 5 o'clock. Okay, we're finally back just past under Highway 160 under the bridge. There's the DoubleTree Hotel on our right. Andrea's coming in. This is where we started from, so we're just got to go around this building here. It's kind of pretty in front of the DoubleTree. Then you have a nice view of the river. There's some nice fall leaves. Nice bright, haven't been raked up yet. We just passed the place where we spent our first night in Durango when we came for Dean's visits. Now we're taking a right, going up to the sidewalk, leads to the parking lot. On our left is Albertsons, my usual grocery store, and on the right is the DoubleTree parking lot. That's where I'm headed down here. I'm going to take a left here, go in to find our vehicles back to where we started from. And there they are. There are the cars, and we're back where we started. Gone about a little bit more than 36